up every meeting, every
Aw.
time. And it was like, yep, no brainer. Mandy's got to be there in October. So I'm just glad that we can finally let the secret out and
Yeah.
advertise it. So are you
Yeah.
so excited for the conference?
Yeah, I'm so excited. In fact, a couple of years ago, the last time that they had it,
Yeah.
I wanted to go so badly, and I had something scheduled already the time that they were having it, and I couldn't work around it, and it was super, super disappointing. So when I found out that they were going to go forward with it this year, and then on top of it, I get to be a featured speaker, like that is just best news ever. So very, very excited. And I love the entire team. I've loved them for so long. We met at USM Spark officially a few years ago, actually
Okay.
in person. It's got to be, I don't know how many years ago it was.
Okay.
Pandemic time makes everything feel like double the amount of time. So it
Yes.
feels like 10 years ago, but I don't actually think that it was.
Yes.
Um, but I met them officially and they are just the best people, like best people. I absolutely love them. So I'm
Well,
excited about this.
that I feel like is all we hear kind of about that connection. I know you're in our speakers network. Like you said, you've been connected to Teach Better for literally forever. But if people have not seen you in all of those capacities, all the ways we've connected with you, can you tell them kind of who you are, what you're about? Just kind of share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So mainly what I do is I consult in education in a few different areas. So I'm technically a full-time consultant. I mentioned a district job. I took on a district job this year just to help out and fill a gap that a district was having. And, we're having trouble filling that position. Imagine that. And who would have thought?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I took that position, but I'm still consulting full time as well because it's just for this 1 year.
Mhm.
And so I do leadership consulting and ed tech consulting and mental health consulting, and really trying to first of all, change the way that people view mental health. And so, really, being an advocate for the destigmatization of that, but also trying to, find ways to really create systemic change. And so, yes, that still includes self-care. Yes, it still includes, teachers doing the things for themselves, but also how can we change the system to make it easier for them to do that as well. And so, those are a few things that I do. A lot of consulting on blended learning because I'm a blended learning facilitator through Heather Staker,
Okay.
who used to be with the Christensen Institute. So I do a lot of that, a lot of online virtual program work, things like that. And then also I am the COO of EduMatch Publishing. And so I work with Sarah Thomas, and our goal has always been to really, raise and amplify the voices of traditionally underserved populations. And so we've been trying to, Sarah's always been phenomenal,
Mhm.
just, that's like where her heart is. And she's always giving back to everybody. And from the first time I met her, I wanted to be a part of that. And so I've been fortunate enough to be able to work as a CO and be a small part of her amazing work.
Mhm.
And I have my own publishing imprint as well. So
Mhm.
I work on that. And I don't know. I don't know what else I do.
I don't know that you have time to do anything else, honestly.
I think there are other things. I can't think of what they are at the moment. I'm also getting my doctorate. We talked about that. So I've been working. I'm actually really excited about my doctorate. It's definitely a love-hate relationship. Like, it's so much work.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of the things that I have, like, you learn about, it's just like being in school. Like,
Yeah.
I never loved math. So I never loved doing math, no matter how hard the teacher tried. Math was just not my thing. Same thing in the doctorate. I have to learn some stuff that I'm like, really, do I have to do this?
Right.
But overall, I really love it because I want to create sustainable programs for educators and their mental health. So it's very practical in that sense. So
Yeah, Mandy, honestly, I mean, you can see in the comments, we've got Andrea dropping some love for your hair. Not only do you rock all the things, but you also have a phenomenal hairstyle. I mean, honestly, that comment just really made me giggle, and Ray Grease. So good job with that. But honestly, I'm like so blown away. I mean, really, you kind of covered three kind of big areas. EduMatch, we love them. All the work that Sarah Thomas does, I just think is so phenomenal. So it's so cool that you get to work kind of alongside her and promote that work. But really, you not only you're talking about mental health, you're talking about sustainability with teachers. That is huge right now in the world of education. And then to also talk about and work with Sarah on underrepresented populations. I mean, those are two areas that I feel like you have got your hands full, I'm sure, because that's all you hear about right now is mental health with educators and keeping, educators, those good educators in the classroom. So what are you finding kind of as you and I talked about your doctorate a little bit before, but what are you kind of finding with those categories of things that are now like maybe 4 years ago were popular, but now it's like, oh man, that is like super, super popular. Can you share a little bit about some of your findings?
Yeah. So as far as the doctorate goes, like I think one really interesting piece about sustainability in general is that a lot of people think it's like the environment and how we're, doing sustainable activities that help the environment, be clean. that's not really my focus, although I think that's very important. There's also an area of sustainability that has to do with DEI, and so like that's really where my focus is because mental health falls under DEI. And so I'm fortunate in the program that I have that I'll not only come out with my doctorate in educational sustainability, but I'll also have a certificate in DEI because that's what mental health is. So it's from that standpoint, it's been just a really, really interesting journey down that road because I've worked so hard with Sarah and I've worked so hard on understanding myself in those areas, and that it's just been a really great way to kind of apply that academic lens to all of the other things that I've done.
Yeah.
Things that I know that right now we're in a space where, and this is something that is caused by, this is kind of a trauma response. Something that is very trauma response-ish is being very dichotomous in our thinking. And so one of the things that I see right now is I see a lot of, well, I don't need to practice self-care, I need systemic change. I don't need to find time to take care of myself. The district needs to change what they're doing in order for me to be better or me to do my job. I just want to do my job. And actually we need both. And the, like I said, that kind of dichotomous response is very indicative of trauma and people going through a really, really difficult time. And so a lot of the work that I'm doing is how do we mesh some of those things together? Like what has to happen? And there are so many pieces of our system that needs to change. I did say in a recent blog post that the pandemic is not going to be the collapse of the education system, but teacher attrition might be. And there are so many things that go along with that teacher attrition. I put a blog post out today about teacher salary and why it's important that teachers get paid well, not because of the salary, it's because of all the emotional impact of not being paid or just being paid over the poverty line. Like there's an emotional impact to that. And so there are going to be some things that as I try to create a system, protocols or something for systemic change, they're not going to be able to change unless the system changes, like the entire system changes, like teacher pay. So it's an interesting conundrum because we are in such a place where there are some things that we just cannot control. State testing, for example. I don't think I've ever spoken to a teacher that is like, yay for state testing. Like, it's definitely needed for these 5 reasons. We get so much out of it. Nobody ever says that.
Right.
And yet it's still not something that we're probably going to be able to control.
Right.
So I think right now, one of my most important tasks is not necessarily to decide what needs to happen, because I
Mhm.
think I have a pretty good grasp on that already. But instead, what it is what can we control and how do we change the things that we can control enough to make a difference?
Yeah.
Because that's the tipping point, right? Like, we can try to change the things we can't control, but if we don't do it well enough, it's not going to offset the things we can't. And
Wow.
so it's really about finding that, finding that tipping point. And so I would say that that's probably something that I'm trying to work through right now.
Mandy, I wish I could tell you the number of times I got goosebumps as you were talking. I mean, I was like, wow, has she been sitting in our staff meetings? Has she been like listening to our conversations? I mean, honestly, as a classroom teacher, I feel like it's like everything you spoke to is so true. It is you read whether it's staff emails or you sit in meetings and it's like, well, make sure you take time for yourself this weekend. Oh, but don't forget about these 500 other things. And
Right.
I think you touch on such a strong point of they do have to go hand in hand, and we have to create a space for teachers to feel safe to be able to do that
Mm-hmm.
and be able to feel like that is a valued piece, because it is hard. And I think it's so cool in some ways. I know it's probably a lot of work for you, but I think it's so cool that you're kind of back in a school district, and you lent up your time to help a school district out that had the great need. And I think that is, that's kind of part of that big systemic change. We have needs everywhere. Teachers are getting spread super thin, but what I like is that you're not looking to play the blame game at all. You're really looking to say, what is the change and how do we need to make that change and how do we get there? And that
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a perspective that you hear a lot right now. It is sometimes the blame game, which is really kind of, can be a problem, can be toxic.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that we're in that space because nobody knows what to do. That's just the thing, is that, like, we have a lot, it's not administration's fault.
No, no.
It's just not. I mean, like, we have good administrators and we have not awesome administrators,
Right,
but at the end
right.
of the day, none of this is administration's fault.
No.
And it's really difficult to try to change something or to make something better when you have no precedent for how
Mhm.
it's ever been done.
Absolutely.
It's also awesome because you have the opportunity to set precedent. So,
Yes.
like, you have the opportunity to do amazing things.
Mhm.
Um, but people are going to screw up all over the place.
Mhm.
And we've been,
Yeah.
and it's really difficult to understand that, like, it's not administration's responsibility to help to fix your mental health issues. It's just not.
That's true. Yeah.
They should be there to support you. They should be there to help you in any way that they can. But at the end of the day, we really have to take responsibility for that. And at the same time, it's also not teachers' fault in the spaces that they're in either, where they're taking on sometimes 2 classes when they have no substitute teachers. And or I work with a school district in Florida that their one building is short 15 teachers. They don't have teachers. They've pulled in all of their instructional coaches. So all of the work that the interventionists and the instructional coaches were doing are now in the classrooms. The teachers are absolutely demoralized and burnt
Mhm.
out. It's not their fault either. We're just
Right,
in a space
right.
where everybody's trying to survive. And these are the kinds of things that come out of that.
Wow. I'm honestly that I feel like we could literally talk all night about this, and I'm so excited to kind of see as you get farther into your doctorate. I know you said you're kind of narrowing down your topic here soon. So really kind of by the time October rolls around, man, I am like giddy to see I know we haven't decided on specific proposals yet or specific
Mhm.
sessions yet. And so I feel like no matter what you talk about, I'm like, I'm gonna be there. I wanna be there and I wanna listen because I just think there's so much that you are in the short time that we've been together have dove into already, and there's obviously way more to unpack. And so I think
Mhm.
it's awesome what you're doing. I think it's awesome, that you're advocating for a change and for a solution. And, it's really good to hear. I know Dave did say, he did offer that he would be willing to be the scapegoat, and we can blame all of this on Dave. And I think that sounds fine.
Yeah, I
You
think that's
know,
probably good.
yeah, that's
Actually,
probably, yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense.
I mean, that probably means he should dress up as a goat for the Teach Better conference then, right? Like
I think that needs
an
to happen.
actual
Yeah.
goat.
Yeah.
Or we should make him haul around a goat. One of the two.
Oh, Mandy, in my early years of teaching, I had to kiss a goat at an all-school assembly, so I can totally bring in a goat for Dave. Don't you worry.
Yeah. So there you go. Dave, we got you.
Yeah.
You're going to be kissing a goat, from what I
Yes.
understand, at the Teach Better conference.
I think
That's,
yep, that sounds good. That sounds
yeah,
perfect.
absolutely.
All right. Well, I just want to remind everybody that if you have not registered, you have like 7 days left to register under the early bird registration. It's $100 off, which honestly is like a ton of money. So if you haven't registered, make sure. If Mandy is not a good enough reason, I honestly don't know what is. You'll definitely want to check out her session. Proposals open in March. There are so many things going around with this conference. I'm honestly, there's so much we could talk about tonight for it. But if you want to check out any of the details, make sure you head to the website, teachbetterconference.com. Yeah, Mandy, are you so excited? Like, what is one person you are dying to see in person at the conference?
A ton of people, first of all.
Okay.
Like I've had absolute FOMO for like FETC has been going on, and TCEA, and like some of the conferences that I haven't been able to make because of my schedule this year. And I've been just dying. But I did find out one person who is also going to be a featured speaker who hasn't been announced yet. So I
Okay.
cannot talk about this person. But this person I have never met in person, and so I am so excited. So there is one person in particular that I'm dying to see. However, there are tons and tons of my favorite people that go to Teach Better. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, I second that. I'm like, who has not been announced that she's dying to see? So that makes me very excited. But yeah, there are tons of people going to be there, and I'm super excited just to be able to see some faces, see people in person and have a conversation. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I want to say thank you, Mandy, for giving up a little bit of your Monday, even though it was your day off from your school district and a busy day. Thank you for, sharing your insight and kind of just all the work you're doing for educators. I know I'm very appreciative. So just thank you for that. And just a quick reminder, early bird registration closes this week. I guess it's technically next week. So make sure you check out teachbetterconference.com and register. And stay tuned for potentially one of Mandy's favorite people, might be the next person we release. So thank you. And Mandy, any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, I'm going to just quickly say the sessions are most likely going to be around educator mental health. So come for that. However, I might have a special session on something called The Wounded Healer, which is a book that I have coming out next. So it'll be like first time I do this session about wounded healer teachers and what that looks like personally and professionally. So that may also be, nobody has approved that. So that's totally me saying that Jeff and Ray might approve something like that. But that if I can get it approved, then it'll be there.
Oh, well, I think that sounds awesome. So let's hope for that. Otherwise, honestly, I think any of those topics sound awesome. So go ahead and register so that you can make sure to check out Mandy's sessions. And until next time, see you, Teach Better family.
So right now, I want to know if you're ready to teach better.
That's the whole mission of this weekend.
Just being here ready to learn and grow and come together like this is awesome.
What are those small changes that can make you better tomorrow than you were today?
All the amazing speakers we have here, wow.
but we have a ton of people here who are published authors, who are writing about education.
Let's get out there and teach better.